you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Oh yeah. Take you like a pill. And I fill you like a pill to get my fill. No, do me in the worst way. Don't let me sleep, never say you're sorry. Oh, maybe I'll leave, baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Oh yeah. Take you like a pill.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome, welcome. Sorry for basically starting late, a bit late. I had to just quickly set everything up real quick. Um, uh, how are y'all doing today? Hopefully everything's going well. Making sure, you eat well and remember to hydrate. Today we're just gonna do some art practice, all that. Nothing too major. I want to get it real quick. All right, there. Okay. All right. So let me just that shrink this in a bit. There we go. All right. There we go. Well, hopefully y'all have a good day today. I'm pretty pretty tired myself, but I'm excited to draw some more. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Guys and gals, me Mudahar. You know the day is here, ladies and gentlemen, when a good old Google ruins its browser. Now, we've been talking about this ad block jihad that Google has had against ad blockers for, I want to say months, if not years. But today, ladies and gentlemen, is the actual final day. So here I've got Google Chrome just
Definitely
opened up, and if you
years.
look at uBlock Origins, you can finally see that I got that big gray button. You cannot add this extension into Chrome. Now, what's really interesting about this too is obviously if you go to the old friends over at r/Chrome, this has been basically the top posts. A lot of individuals have effectively been saying that a lot of their extensions are gone. It feels that Chrome did some kind of extension purge. I've got 4 extensions turned off the same day. You Google. You. By the way, guys, at least uBlock Origin Lite still works and it does the job. And one guy's like, it's not good enough blocking for me. YouTube ads started slipping through. That's my last straw.
Oof.
Switched to Brave yesterday. Now, if you want the TLDR version of this, just get Brave, okay? Get the Brave browser. I use the Brave Lion every day on the internet, and it keeps me safe from those big scary ads on the internet. But let's get a little bit deeper into it, right? So everyone is focusing on all the ad blockers being killed by MV3. So again, MV3, for anybody that doesn't know, is Manifest v3. Now, Manifest v3 is a new manifest system that is put into Google Chrome. And obviously, according to, just Brave, for instance, right over here, it does block capabilities of web extensions, making privacy handling things a lot difficult. So in just short, it imposes new restrictions, a cap on blocking rules, the removal of background scripts, changes around cosmetic filtering, so on and so forth. So it actually, people in the space have made, new extensions that are MV3 supported, but it seems like a lot of things that they're trying to address are actually problems introduced with the limitations that Manifest v3 has put in. And these limitations are meant, and they're pushed in the sense that I guess they're providing more security, and that can be debatable. But the thing is, at the end of it, they are taking away extensions that a lot of people use on a daily basis to keep themselves safe on the internet. So for instance, like content
Yeah.
blockers like uBlock Origin, it absolutely restricts how that extension can intercept or modify certain network requests. So for instance, back when Manifest v2 came with web request, the extensions could literally intercept, I believe, anything in real time. They could inspect all the content. They could block, redirect, do a lot more powerful things. But obviously, with declarative net request, this is where, again, if you were uBlock Origins, a very powerful ad blocker, a lot of your power was cut down because this didn't allow you to dynamically inspect or really modify or request content. There was limited versions like uBlock Origin Lite that existed, but it was never going to be as powerful as that original full-featured ad blocker. Now, ad blockers are so important that even, federal agencies, cybersecurity firms, everyone tells you that it's pretty much a mandatory requirement. I would say, on a personal level, I would recommend you have a good ad blocker. I don't care if you use an antivirus. I don't use an antivirus on my systems. I just use common sense. But I would never browse the internet without any form of ad blocking, just because there are so many malicious things that exist on the internet, and you could probably axe a good 80-90% of them if you removed ads from even tracking you or delivering to you with all these
Exactly.
shady scams that exist all over, right? Now, a lot of these companies are putting in tons of money into making the next big browser, right? So you got like companies like OpenAI that are making like the next big AI web browser. And again, the most important thing for, I guess, some of these companies is to have access over your browsing. Now, one of the things that I believe was cause for this manifest change probably was due to the fact that maybe it did really cut into Google's bottom line pretty heavily to have ads being blocked so effectively. Again, Google is more an advertising company than they really are just like anything else. And if you're cutting into the bottom line in any capacity, I would have to imagine that it wouldn't be something that is kosher. Now, looking at the current browser market share in the world, one of the things that should kind of like pique your interest is how much of the internet is powered or used by Chrome, really, right? So you've got Chrome at 68.3%, meaning that most people definitely just use basic Google Chrome. They go to the site, they download it, you're good. Google has become the de facto, like Google Chrome's become the de facto browser. But if you look at everything else, like Safari is the only other different engine, and that's like an Apple exclusive. And of course, you've got Edge, which is also just a fork of Chromium. You've also got Firefox, which is at 2.3%, the only real competitor. Samsung Internet is literally just Chrome reskinned for your Android phone. And of course, Opera, I believe current Opera is Chromium based. So again, let's say that you want to make sure that, you want to deviate a little bit. You've really only got one other option, and that is Firefox. But before we do all of the actual changes, what if you wanted to keep using that uBlock Origin a little bit longer on your actual like Google Chrome browser? So before a new update, there are ways to actually get access to uBlock Origins again, or a lot of these Manifest v2 extensions for a little bit longer. So for instance, let's say you're on Google Chrome, open up a new tab, and ladies and gentlemen, you want to type in Chrome://flags. And inside over here, you got like, warning, experimental features ahead. Now underneath here, you'll see temporarily unexpire M136 flags or M137 flags. So depending on which version of Chrome that you're on, right, down the road, you will have to change this a few more times as the versions update. So over here, you want to go to M131 flags, you want to hit enable, and of course, it's going to ask you, you need to relaunch your browser. So again, we just hit that little relaunch button. Everything is redropped, and boom, we're back at the Chrome flags menu. So now the Chrome flags menu, you want to go to extension, manifest, and then of course, you've got all of these like warning stages, disabled stages, unsupported stages, okay? So you want to go to allow legacy manifest versions. You want to make sure these are all disabled up here, and hopefully if all this is done, one more relaunch should allow you, in theory, to keep uBlock Origins. So for instance, if we go back to the site, woo, we get to add that to Chrome. Now, this doesn't mean that it's going to be around forever, ladies and gentlemen. At some point, this will be sent to the big old cemetery in the sky. So really, what's a better change here? Is there any actual competitor? Well, for one, you can go to Brave Browser. Now, Brave Browser offers you a little bit of a compatibility layer for this. Like, they're kind of supporting Manifest v2 for a little bit right now. But that doesn't mean the support is guaranteed down into the future. So even if you go to Brave, which again is just another Chromium browser, a very good one in my opinion, and one that I use on a daily basis, let's say today was your chance to say, fuck Chrome, fuck Google, I'm going to switch to the Firefox, okay? Well, Firefox is actually, from my understanding, keeping Manifest v2 pretty much on the board. So a lot of those ad blocking tools that Google wants to get rid of, Firefox is absolutely going to be down here and keeping it, right? But let's say that you don't like Firefox because you didn't enjoy some controversy they were in the past. Maybe you're not down with them. Maybe you don't like the fact that this is still at its core, just Google basically paying them money to be their competitor. And there's a whole like, there's just a whole different video topic right there. I've probably covered it in the last several months, just because when I talk about browsers and stuff, when I talk about like big tech, Google, Microsoft, a lot of these companies are usually always involved in the pocketbooks of nearly all their competitors, especially when it comes to things like antitrust. But we're deviating. So a great option that is
Hold on. Trying to. Ay, ay, fucking hell.
hello guys. Install button, you make sure you
There we go. There we go. There we go.
custom version of Firefox based on privacy, security, and freedom. So let's say, you're somebody that wants no telemetry, you want a private search engine, you want content blockers, you want enhanced privacy, fast updates, and something that's open source, as most big browsers really are, I think, except for Safari. You have access to this. So all you got to do is click on that big blue
Alrighty.
installation button. Now, if you're a Windows user, you click on that Windows. If you're a Mackie user, you click on the Macintosh. Or actually, if you just wanted a really easy option, you just go to your software manager. You go over here and you just type in the words LibreWolf. And then you just click that. You hit that little fat install button. You make sure you hit you just do continue. And boom, it's just installing for you, okay? Done. So now if you guys want to start up good old LibreWolf, here it is. Boom, it just comes with DuckDuckGo already set. And of course, it's just Firefox with a lot more privacy thrown into it. You can go to the search engine. You can
I
change
use
it to whatever you
LibreWolf,
want.
as you can see.
And again, to show you your level of privacy and ad blocking, from the get-go, this already comes with every ad blocker and everything enabled. So again, if you're worried about browsing the internet, you don't have to worry too much. A lot of the alternatives are there. Even if Google or Chrome or any of these extensions want to take that away from you, you still don't have... If today was a wake-up call when you loaded up your Chrome and you noticed that a bunch of your extensions were turned off, this should be a good wake-up call for you to consider switching to other browsers, because no matter what, I never will agree with the fact that these companies can take away functionality and replace it with things that ultimately are designed to benefit them over the actual end user. I think a lot of these guys can keep saying that privacy is more important for them. It's not. Things like user security is more important to them. Sure, I would imagine nobody wants a big hack, and especially their software tainted in the process. But I would say that reducing the abilities for us to, increase our privacy on the internet, reduce the amount of ads that we see, reduce the amount of tracking is never a good end goal. And that's why projects like LibreWolf, that's why Brave, that's why a lot of these, browsers exist, because they fill that because they sell a product, basically, or they distribute a product, rather, that provides people with the privacy they want. And all it takes is a couple clicks for you to just switch right over. And it's that easy. Now that you have a new browser, bro, you never have to worry about Chrome again. I am surprised that people feel that they need to use Google Chrome out of some necessity, when literally so many other alternatives exist. And it takes even, I could understand switching to Linux is probably daunting, but dog, switching your browsers should be as easy as switching your fucking underwear at this point, okay? Come on, there is no excuse. One thing that also really wilds me a lot too is apparently how many people use extensions on their browser. Now, maybe I'm just like the one person in the world that doesn't, but I feel like there's just a lot of people that use extensions. I don't know if people have stuff for YouTube where you can see video statistics. I've seen that on a few people's videos, but I've also seen people use extensions that realistically, I don't know why they would even need to expose their browser to, these kind of unnecessary features, or features that you could resolve in a matter of clicks. So for instance, a lot of actual extensions like Emoji Keyboard Online, free weather forecast.
Yeah, I don't understand those extensions.
Why can't you just look up weather in your city right there and then? It's in there in every search browser. Unlock Discord, Dark Theme, which to be fair, I've probably played around with extensions like that. Volumax could make sense. Unblock, YouTube VPN, Gecko Color Pick. A lot of these actual extensions recently just were outed for literally like stealing user data, spying on people, actual straight up malware. So again, one of the reasons why Manifest v3 got really pushed was because of malware like this, or because of bad extensions. And it really feels like we're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, where like obviously to take away our privacy, to take away our ad blocking functionality, a lot of these, you know, bad actors have kind of been the reason for these new developments to be pushed. Now, does Manifest 3 magically make you safer? No,
Nope.
obviously not. There's still going to be hackers that will find ways to attack millions of people all day, every day. So realistically, if you want to make yourself just a little bit safer, probably should cut as many of these extensions as you can, simply because you're opening up unneeded attack surfaces. Even if an extension is good, you never know down the road if things just change.
Hey,
You may not really
how are
focus
you?
on it. You might actually install these things and
Hopefully you're doing okay.
so just be wary there. But to move on, there's other things you can do to take back your privacy as well, which is one of the reasons I like talking about this stuff, because I think for people who use computers now, a lot of people think that I have to give up everything. I have to make myself unsafe because these big companies have said so. And the next thing I'm about to show you is literally just a search engine that you can use that is detached from Google and every other big tech company. And you can use it on your own device, keeping yourself away from unneeded tracking and needless ads. Now, if you want to couple this with some extra levels of privacy, I have my own search engine aggregator that runs locally on my server. So for instance, I can use the Seer XNG to do my search browsing across multiple search engines without giving up my privacy, without giving up my information, and I get the benefit of everything, right? So literally right over here on this search engine, if I just go, why is Manifest v3 not safe or private? I can just basically hit that big old search button. And granted, it's not as fast as some of the big cloud stuff, but with a response time of about 1 second, I'm getting results that are far better and far more aggregated from all of the search engines in the world. Again, you can mix and match which ones work for you. And not only do I get the results that I really want, like better results than I would find on any standard search engine. I can literally have, these things, filtered out to like a week ago, yada, yada, yada. And then again, I can also use this to search for, again, the images, also news. Everything is just faster. Everything just runs a lot better for me over here. And overall, maybe it's not perfect, but since it's also self-hosted, a lot of what I search for, a lot of my requests are anonymized. I have more privacy. And again, if you're noticing, there are no ads here, and there is far less tracking than you can imagine. This by far may be one of the safest ways to browse kind of the internet, or at least search, especially in a world where we've got so many depreciating search engines and ever rising AI tools as well. This is the best way to keep yourself safe. These are just a few tools in my arsenal. And if you're interested, I'd be totally down with making a video showing you how you can set this up and have it running 24 hours on your home network without you. Once you set it up, it's so easy to forget and let it just do its thing. So yeah, anyways, I've kept you here long enough. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.
All right. I'm gonna. Okay, you immediately use copyrighted song.
Credit cards are my...
Should I? It's about credit cards, so.
Blu-ray collections or Pokemon cards. Earning like 80,000 rewards points with the introduction bonuses on every card I open fills me with what I think is joy, and it pays off. Over the last 12 months, I've gone on trips to Vancouver, Chicago, had their flights covered by credit card points. It's gotten to the point where I'm making Excel spreadsheets, tracking intro bonuses, and planning on the most optimal strategy to
Yeah.
spend to get the most value for my points. I've fallen down rabbit holes online, finding threads of people doing the same thing, and it's got me thinking, how is this whole thing possible? Why do credit cards give away free stuff? Is the whole system of YouTube channels and Reddit pages optimizing credit card rewards purposely designed to keep me engaged in the system? If so, why? And who's doing that? You always hear such horrible stories about credit cards, but I'm having a pretty great time so far. I feel like I'm
So
waiting for the shoe to
far,
drop, but I don't know
quote unquote.
how or when or if it ever will happen. So come with me on this journey as I try to figure out what's going on here, because I have no idea. I hope that looked good. It took a long time to set up. To start figuring this out, we have to go back to the beginning. The first version of what we would consider a credit card had its roots in the 1920s. These were metal slates called charge plates. They were issued by department stores and gas stations to allow customers to make purchases and settle the bill later. But in 1950, everything changed with something called the Diners Club card. You may have heard of this. There's versions of it around today. A guy named Frank McNamara forgot his wallet during a business dinner and decided to make a charge plate that would work at multiple restaurants. The card was originally given out to 200 of Frank's friends and acquaintances. But by the end of its first year, they had 20,000 members, and by the end of the decade, they surpassed 1 million.
Oh, wow.
In 1958, we see the next rung on this ladder form when Bank of America does something unthinkable today. On September 18th, 1958, 60,000 residents of Fresno, California opened their mailbox to find something called the Bank of America card. This was an already activated credit card giving every single recipient a $500 credit line. No application, no warning it was coming. They called it the Fresno Drop. As you may have guessed, the move came with its own set of risks, like people just taking the card out of the mailbox, using them, and never paying it. Despite these problems, the card was a massive success. It was the first call to use something called revolving credit. Remember this term because it's the foundation of almost every credit card on the market today. Instead of having to pay your balance off in full at the end of the month, you could carry something called a balance, where you didn't have to pay anything back by the due date. You just pay interest on that money. Let me be clear, this fundamentally
Hey Sky, how are
using
you?
debt to finance everyday purchases
Hopefully
was foreign
everything's
to a
well.
lot of people, and this was the first tool many had to try it out. Okay, back to the history lesson. Turns out giving a bunch of random strangers lines of credit wasn't a great idea. Over 1/5 of people who got a card the first year claimed delinquency. This cost Bank of America over $20 million of losses in the first year. $20 million in 1950s money. A bunch of banks were watching what Bank of America had done. Despite being an insane marketing tactic with crazy early losses, over 2 million cards have been issued in a year, and they started to turn a profit not too long after. A few of these banks decided to get together and form a group called the Interbank Card Association. Super creative, I know. They started making their own cards to compete, changing their name to MasterCharge and eventually MasterCard. Bank of America saw this growing competition and decided to follow the same business model. They licensed out the Bank Americard program to other financial institutions. And
Oh, really?
in
That's
1970,
cool.
They decided to give up direct control and spun it off into its own company named Visa. It was quickly becoming clear there needed to be some new oversight, so 3 companies filled up.
Alright.
You may have heard of them: Equinox, Experian, and TransUnion. They began
Here we
compiling
go.
data and introduced an early version of what we call the credit score today. Now, it's important to realize a lot of people went a long time without realizing their spending was being tracked and quantified.
I
That
remember.
affected their ability to get loans, housing, and their employment. The lack of
Sorry, I'm
transparency
a
and
bit
oversight about
tired
how
from
these scores were
work, so
calculated and how they could be
this
corrected
drawing
hurt
to
a
just
lot
get
of
the
people
stress
early on
out.
and even today. You may be asking yourself at this point, why would someone willingly choose to pay for something they couldn't afford? Especially in the 1960s when most families could afford everything they wanted on one salary. Now, that's a very valid question, but the second part was about to change. By 1974, women were finally able to get their own
Ooh,
credit cards.
nice.
Just in time for inflation to completely drive up the cost of living. Several factors, including oil embargoes, low interest rates, and huge amounts of government spending on new social programs, and the Vietnam War, were leading to double-digit inflation rates. Stuff was getting expensive fast, and credit card companies began looking more and more appealing. Just, until the inflation goes down. This period lasted well over a decade, accumulating in a recession by the early 80s that put a lot of people out of work. The stars had aligned perfectly for a wide-scale credit card adoption for the first time in history. Now cut to the mid-1980s. Sears, the largest retailer in the United States at the time, decided to launch a credit card. The landscape was vast by this point, and they decided they needed to do something different to stand out, something big. Enter the Discover card. This card had no annual fee, which was uncommon at the time. The killer feature, though, was something called cashback bonus. For the first time, you would get a percentage of your purchase back, between 1% and 5%, depending on how much you use the card. So here we are, 4 successful card companies and a few recessions later. Somewhere between then and now, a whole infrastructure was built that made it seem like living in this country without a credit card was now the weird thing to do. When did that happen?
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, this song is actually
After the invention
nice.
of the cashback card, every other credit card company caught on, and by the early 1990s, everyone had their own version of cashback cards, and some had even begun using points. These were different from cashback. They could usually only be redeemed for things like merchandise, travel, or gift cards, but they tended to offer higher value, if you were willing to learn the game, that is. These tactics, combined with co-branded cards from airlines and hotels offering their own reward structures, made cards way more appealing for people who otherwise would have never touched a credit card. Up to this point, whenever you had to pay your bill, you either had to write a check and send it in the actual mail, or go down to your local branch of whatever bank the card was through and pay in person. That was until the 90s saw the advent of online banking. This completely changed how people interacted with their cards. And now you could use a website to view your statements, pay bills, and monitor your transactions digitally. This made a card much simpler, and paying with cash seemed like more of a hassle for the first time. Fast forward and we see the last few bits of innovation in the space that took away whatever friction remained with paying on card. The early 2000s brought contactless payments through RFID chips, and the emergence of mobile wallets in the last decade with Apple Pay and Google Wallet have taken that tech and run with it. Now, a technology that upends commerce to the degree these cards have is beholden to one almighty power. We all know them: congressional banking committees. This was a group of congressmen dead set on reining in the more, shall we say, manipulative practices in the industry. The first of these laws was the Truth in Lending Act. Passed in 1968, it required companies to disclose all relevant information when you open a card. Those little white papers that you get in the mail, that's where those come from. There wasn't much passed in the subsequent decades. It took until 2009 for the next notable piece of legislation. In the wake of the financial crisis, a newly elected President Obama and Congress passed a bill called the Card Act. This law significantly reshaped the credit card industry. It strongly enhanced transparency, requiring credit card companies to be much clearer about interest rates and other fees they try to tack on in the background. It limited a bunch of junk fees and made it harder for these companies to prey on consumers under 21, requiring co-signers for most applications in this group. These changes have made credit card companies pivot into data analytics companies. American Express is a great example.
Also, did they put an age limit on the credit cards? Basically, you're not allowed to open a credit line unless you are 21, I think. I'm not sure.
People who use American Express cards tend to have higher incomes and spend at higher levels, which makes the data of these consumers extremely valuable. By selling this data to advertising agencies, Amex makes money. Similar practices can be found at MasterCard. They also use a ton of information in-house. If you've ever gotten
can't because I don't really have like
offers in the mail,
quote unquote not earning enough income. So instead of doing that, so hold on.
Well, how else do these companies?
Is it getting enough income to open, which you still need that, but I'm using an app that has a credit builder, and it's not really like a necessarily like a actual credit card. It's more like you load up money onto the card and then use that to get buy small things and build credit that way. And also they also have their own like kind of like stocks investment. Yeah, exactly. Even the college one is fucking scummy as shit. Yeah. Also, the app I'm using also has its own ability to invest in their stock, so I do invest a little bit of money each time. But after each of my paychecks, I invest a little bit of money as low, not past so don't go past $10 each during each paycheck to invest in their stock. So hopefully in the future those investments will pay off. Yeah, I feel like the college ones targeting college students, they are pretty much even more predatory than you say if a consider getting their own credit card. Like if they actually make enough money for it.
Make money. There are four main ways: interest fees, interchange fees, annual fees,
See.
and junk fees. Let's break them down quickly. Number one, interest fees. This is the one everyone knows. When you miss your due date for your payment, some cards allow you to roll over the amount until you pay it off, with a fee, of course. With standard interest rates of about 22% in 2024, if you roll over a $1,000 credit card bill, you can expect to pay the credit card company an additional $220. And that's just for the first month. It compounds over time into what some people call a death spiral. Number two, interchange fees.
Yep.
When you use your credit card for purchases, stores pay a percentage of that transaction amount to the card issuer. These fees typically range from 1 to 3% of pretty much everything you buy. Some cards offer much better benefits than others, but tend to charge an annual fee for the opportunity. Two of the most popular American Express cards are the Gold Card and the Platinum Card, coming in with annual fees of $325 and $695 respectively. Number four, junk fees. Junk fees are basically a catch-all for all other fees the cards may charge you. These include late fees, cash.
You know why I avoid getting actual credit card? Because not only because of all fees, but also it's the scummy additional fees of either using that credit card too much or not using it at all, or not using it enough. They tack on fees based on how much you use the credit card. So I want to avoid credit when necessary, even though you must have a credit history to like get a house or apartment, or at the very least have like already have insurance, like house insurance or apartment insurance, whatever like that. I just don't understand it. Do they not want? They make it so difficult to pardon. They make it so difficult to get pretty much basically reach milestones in your life. Make it so difficult, and it's just at some point you say, you know what? Which country has a path of least resistance for these milestones? And right now, it's Iceland. Iceland's the one that has a path of least resistance for all milestones. So I kidnap everyone. Let's go to Iceland. Let's go Iceland. It's the easiest place to live in right now.
Advance fees, balance transfer fees, foreign transaction fees, and more. Now, it's important to note that these tend to show up more on cheap cards, while ones you pay an annual fee for tend to be more streamlined and less sketchy. You may notice a trend with these fees. They feed on poor people. If you have some extra money in your checking or savings account, you don't have to worry about interest fees, late payment fees, or cash advance fees. Fees, for the most part, you wouldn't even worry about in the first place if you had extra money to spend on the card with $300 annual fee. Not to mention that the expensive card has got crazy introduction bonuses that get you enough points to fly to Hawaii. And the only thing you needed to do was spend $3,000 on it in the first 3 months. These companies make it very clear who they want as clients, and they make it very scary if you try playing the game with less money than they want you to have. But at the end of the day, this kind of looks like a game, right? The rules are complicated, sure, but there are roads to get those rewards points without losing a bunch of money in fees. If only there was some place I could go to learn more.
Yes, there is a place.
I'm gonna walk you through my introduction to the world of credit cards. Imagine this: you just graduated high school and are about to start college. A lot of changes are going on. Most of them make you feel like an adult for the first time. You may have heard there's a bunch of stuff you get to do when you turn 18, but all you remember doing since your birthday was registering to vote and joining the draft. You Google things you can do at 18, scroll past the obvious and not so nice stuff, and you see open a bank account. It seems like a very adult thing to do, but you don't know where to start. After all, you don't want to mess anything up, as going to adult prison was the next thing on the list.
Fun fact, it was for my 16th birthday that let's say, I don't want to name him specifically, but that my genetic caretaker opened a bank account for me, This was after like over a decade of saving money in my piggy bank. So by the time I opened a bank account at 16 under the guidance of a genetic caretaker, I can't take that title seriously, but I'm going to go along with it. I had at the time it was just under 1,000. I think it was under $1,000. Right now, I'm struggling to save money. I'm struggling to save anything. I can't wait to. I'm gonna take someone to Iceland with me. One day, I'll just take someone to Iceland with me. Like, hey, let's go to Iceland. It's the easiest place to live in right now. It's like, okay. Anyway.
So you go to YouTube, you find some finance channels that answer your questions, and eventually find yourself watching a bunch of videos by a guy named Graham Stephan. One of his videos really captures your attention: the millionaire investing advice for teenagers. I'm a teenager. This is perfect. The first thing he tells you to do is get a credit card. Why? Aren't credit cards bad? He says it's to raise your credit score early. A part of your score is something called length of credit history, and it gives you a higher score the longer you've had an open line of credit. Then you find another video on his channel called the 5 Best Credit Cards for Beginners. Suddenly your entire YouTube homepage is flooded with other videos like this. You find channels like Credit Shifu and Ask Sebi, and now you're off to the races. I want to make a side note here. One of these finance YouTubers is named Caleb Hammer. He walks people through their finances and tries to help them get better. Anyway, he has this great clip with a guest where he says, you are not
a credit card person. You're not even close to a credit card person.
There is absolutely truth in this. Despite what these finance influencers say, not everyone has the temperament or foresight to use these cards responsibly. I am far from a financial advisor, but if watching these videos is making you want to open a credit card, try it out. It can be a great move if you play the game right, but if you pay even a single dollar, a single cent in fees or interest, I would strongly recommend cutting yourself off from the ecosystem. In some ways, these companies really aren't that different from casinos. They feed and manipulate your biological tendencies to make you justify bad decisions. You should never have to know the interest rate on a credit card. You should never know if you can transfer your balance. If you can't afford something, please don't put it on a credit card. The second you're in the red dealing with them, it's time to pull out. You lost the game, and that's okay. Not everybody is a credit card person. But if you could stay and watch the rest of the video for the algorithm, I would very much appreciate it. Not
Yeah, I'm saying watching for the algorithm, quote unquote watching.
Interesting stuff, I hope. Back to the topic at hand. These creators often talk about advanced strategies for maximizing rewards, which some call travel hacking. It involves leveraging these credit card sign-up bonuses, using reward.
Yeah. Oh, that crap. Yeah, I do understand that. Alrighty. But yeah, for me, I can't even open a credit card because I don't make enough money to open one. So instead of doing that, as I'm gonna say again, I'm using a certain app to build credit. Instead of like a official credit card, it's just I load up my personal money onto that card and use it as a credit card. It's just that money just is used to pay off credit immediately as soon as I use the card.
Point multipliers and strategic spending to earn free or discounted travel. They teach techniques like using cards for certain purchase categories. For example, the American Express Gold Card gets 4 points back on dining and groceries, but if you use the Chase Freedom Flex for gas, it gets 5 points back during the summer. Other influencers teach something called manufactured spending, which is when you find new methods to artificially increase your spending when you can't reach the spending goal on a certain card. They usually do this by putting business expenses on personal cards or paying your taxes early on a credit card. While it can be an effective strategy, it's risky if you don't know the rules, which is where the influencers
Yeah, that's risky.
If you go farther down the rabbit hole, you'll probably find yourself on r/credit cards and r/churning. These are pretty active communities of people who like to ask questions, share personal experiences, and offer advice on credit card use and strategies. Here you can find pretty sophisticated discussions on credit card churning. This is the practice of repeatedly opening and closing credit card accounts to take advantage of sign-up bonuses. It can be profitable in terms of the rewards you get, but it can really damage your relationships with these financial institutions if you do it incorrectly. As you'll be able to tell by spending any time on these sites, the practice of credit card churning has not gone unnoticed by any of these credit card companies. They've implemented new rules to clamp down on it. For example, a few years ago, Chase Bank introduced the 524 rule. This restricts people from being able to open any Chase credit card if you've opened 5 or more cards in the last 24 months. Similarly, American Express now has a once per lifetime rule on all their cards. It means you can only get the sign-up bonus for each card once in your lifetime. You may think these rules aren't all that harsh, and you'd be right. After all, 5 credit cards in 2 years is still a lot, and American Express has a bunch of different cards you can churn through. The important thing to know here is these methods were designed to slow people down, not stop churning. The idea that people can game the system is really attractive. If you clamp down on it, no one will open new cards. The fact of the matter is that over 80% of Americans have credit cards, and many are open to getting more. The game is winnable, but the banks hold a lot of cards. No pun intended. They know it only takes one.
Definitely pun intended.
Concerningly large number of Americans to fall into debt. And these companies know that they'll be the first place people turn to. If you take away one metric from this entire video, please let it be this. As of the second quarter of 2024, the total number of credit card debt in the United States is $1.14 trillion. It's the highest level since the Fed began counting in 1999. I genuinely have a split view on these financial influencers. On one hand, they can act as a guide for people going through a purposely hard to navigate ecosystem. On the other hand, they naturally play into the allure that credit card companies spend billions on every year in advertisements. One thing you can't deny, though, is that they're changing the landscape for everyone. People are more literate on their finances than ever, but they're still falling into the same traps that have been set for decades and in larger numbers. I don't know what the solution is. Does it start with influencers, credit card companies, the government, or you?
All right.
I don't know what the future holds for any of this.
All right, time for the next one. We all love her.
You know what's worse than transphobia? Transphobia from trans people. I stumbled across a situation that had me so bothered that I still haven't slept, and it's 6:40 a.m. right now. So what's got my proverbial panties in a twirl? Well, let me just read this summarization real quick. Also, just in case you didn't know, this is my side channel, and yeah, basically the videos here are kind of different. For those who are out of the loop, a user made a post explaining the disproportionate rate of SA against and erasure of trans men. The post was using an informative tone and had obvious effort put into it to avoid usage of loaded language and insults. A moderator told OP to stop bitching, but quickly deleted that reply once she got criticized. OP's post ended up being completely removed. When asked why, they said OP was playing Oppression Olympics and the topic was divisive. Yeah, by the way, this is r/trans, one of the largest transgender communities on the internet. From what I saw, and unanimously in the community, the post was not divisive in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it was building bridges for communication to talk about trans mask issues, something that is overshadowed. But let's continue. They also said that's SA against transgender individuals, not unique to trans mask people, and people are not denied any more T than E, despite testosterone being a controlled substance and estrogen not being a controlled substance. Very important context is OP posted statistics surrounding trans men individuals specifically that are never spoken about, so the response here is pretty damning to say the least, in that they're just completely brushing it under the rug, which is the issue in the first place. They then proceeded to give OP a 3-day ban. Ahmad made a post about it saying nobody asked us for our side of the story, when users did ask and were asking the mod at the time that post was made. People have said that they made comments to explain the situation which were removed and got them banned. Yeah, this might not be a great time to mention this, but one of the moderators also moderates r/gay conservatives, which I highly disagree with fundamentally. Is that the reason why this response was so horrible? Probably not, honestly. I don't even know if they're like part of it. I think the person that dealt most damage has been removed. I just thought that was an important thing to like highlight. All of that said, do not go to r/trans and harass anybody. Honestly, that's not what I'm looking for here. I'm just looking to cover the situation so more people know about it. The mod who said that OP was bitching apologized for her usage of the word and said she meant it as complaining, but failed to take accountability for why using anything akin to why even complaining would be an insensitive way to address the subject. They were removed by the head mod. Another apology post was made by a mod. I'm not sure as to what was in the post, but they were basically trying to tell people to stop talking about the situation. This went as far as to even delete posts about being transmasc and weren't related, which only compounds the cruel irony that all of this started from a post that was talking about the lack of communication regarding transmasc issues. It's 10 a.m. and I'm redoing some of this video because I want to get this right, but I just can't, I can't, because everything's been deleted. It's all, you can't make sense of it. None of it makes sense because it's been so mismanaged. Was it one bad mod? Was it two bad mods? Why is there a conservative mod in there? None of this makes sense. What is this subreddit? And why does it have 600,000 plus people? Let's get into some of these posts. Trans misandry, transphobia, 4 apologies with 0
There we go.
tangible content, a conservative on the team, and mod abuse. Yeah, F this. I'm out. Have fun. Sincerely, a trans woman who thinks the mod team should re-examine themselves and look at how they represent our community. Edit, mods, get the conservative out of here, TLDR, ban the conservative, because why is there a conservative... Okay, look, okay. The Conservative Party has built their entire brand off of demonizing the transgender community and attacking children. I don't understand how this person is on the team at all. Look, I'm all for nuance and having broad discussions. I do it on my Twitch streams all the time. But you have to have standards,
Me too.
dude. You have to say, you know what? Maybe the person that's actively supporting a party that's trying to take away our rights is a bad thing on the mod team. What the fuck? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next post. The title of this subreddit is trans, not MTF. If you want to make an MTF only subreddit, cool, do it. Don't make an inclusive subreddit, then act like a 1950s housewife seeing a rat whenever anyone besides a trans woman shows their face here. How is this still an issue in the community? Dude, for the last few years, I've never understood why people just start bandwagoning against like femboys, non-binary, transmasc, dude, just any like minority group. It's just so it's so stupid, man. Like, what? Okay, look, I don't know what the moderation team has done in the past few years, so I'm not even speaking on that specifically right now. But if there is internalized disdain towards transmasc people in any member of the mod group, they should not be a mod for the trans server. Like, this just fucking makes no sense. Like, it's so stupid. I'm so done seeing this shit. Like, it just makes no sense to me, dude. Like, why can't we just be civil and stand in solidarity now more than ever when everyone's trying to find me in the house? Dude, it makes no sense. And not even the good way. I really want to be fair and not just dunk on the moderation team, so I keep digging and digging and digging to get hard, concrete facts, but they did so much deletion of everything that's happened, it's impossible. It's literally impossible. You can't get a full picture at this point. Which sucks, because usually I like coming to these videos well-informed at every level possible, but I literally just can't. So all I can say is, best case scenario, the team is completely reformed and the server is better for it in the end. But this was horribly managed from bottom up, and it's just disappointing to see that. I want to believe there's some good mods in that team that weren't a part of the situation, maybe weren't even aware of what was happening when it happened, and I'm sure there was, but, you know, we just have to see what happens in the future, you know, and that's about all I can say. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh yeah, by the way, hit me up on Twitch, link down below if you want to come say hi and stream. It's a fun time.
Yeah. I don't get if I get pre-banned from r/trans or Trans Academy. I love both of those places very much. At the same time, maybe don't have a trans conservative on the mod team. Maybe don't do that. Anywho, yeah. that is I I just can't wrap my head around that. I- I- Did, did anyone not have a single brain cell to think that, hey, this may be bad for PR. Let's maybe not do this. All right. Let's see here. All right.
Basic user error from a CEO is the reason why North Korea now has $1.5 billion in Ethereum to spend on highly enriched uranium. Also in your Hacking News Roundup, an infamous ransomware gang has just been shut down by the feds. But first, the world's second largest crypto exchange has fallen victim to a $1.5 billion crypto heist. Slight panic ensued, causing the value of Ether to tumble by 4%, all whilst customers of Bybit rushed to withdraw their funds from the exchange. So what caused this? Exchanges like Bybit keep the vast majority of their crypto in cold wallets which are kept offline, and they keep a relatively small amount of crypto in warm wallets where it can be used to actually run the platform, facilitating things like customer withdrawals. The logic here is that if someone hacks into Bybit, theoretically the worst case scenario is that they'll only be able to access the relatively small amount of crypto held in those warm wallets. It's kind of like how ATMs only hold a small amount of cash at any one time, rather than holding all the bank's assets for obvious reasons. However, just like every so often ATMs need to be manually topped up with cash, every few weeks Bybit's warm wallets also need to be manually topped up from the cold wallets. The hackers exploited this process. Bybit uses Safe's multi-sig wallet service to handle this top-up process. Multi-sig means multi-signature, so for a transfer to go ahead, it needs to be signed off by 3 different people, with Bybit CEO being the last person in the chain. And just as he's done countless times before, the CEO received a link to make the transfer. However, this time, whilst it looks like he was making a genuine regular transfer, the user interface he was looking at was totally fake. Whilst the destination address appeared to be Bybit's warm wallet, in reality, it belonged to North Korean hackers. However, there is a bit of mystery here. According to the CEO, the link he clicked to make that transfer looks legit, so perhaps Safe was compromised, or maybe that link he clicked wasn't quite as it seemed. Either way, it really shouldn't have mattered, because the CEO was connecting a ledger device to his PC in order to physically sign transactions. These things have a small screen which shows exactly where you're sending your crypto to. This is really useful, because regardless of whether your computer has been hacked and is lying to you about the destination address, the ledger doesn't lie, and will tell you exactly where your coins are about to be sent. But the screen on a ledger is small and cumbersome to use, so many people skip the verification step and just tap sign, which is exactly what Bybit's CEO did. By signing the transaction, he mistakenly approved a malicious smart contract, sending $1.5 billion in crypto straight to Kim's hacker henchman. Whilst due diligence might not be the CEO's speciality, at least he was transparent. Less than an hour after realizing his screw-up, he hopped on a live stream delivering the bad news to Bybit's 60 million customers. The company did manage to get a loan to cover the stolen funds, so luckily for customers, their funds are safe. This isn't going to be another Mt. Gox situation. The company also announced a bounty of 10% of the stolen coins. That's $150 million to anyone who can recover the funds. Though don't hold your breath on that. While stolen crypto is sometimes recovered, it's rare. A reward was also announced for anyone able to identify the perpetrators of the hack, and within hours, that mystery was solved by ZachXBT, a researcher who connected this heist to a previous crypto hack carried out by Lazarus, North Korea's infamous hacking group. But that revelation is probably the most unsurprising thing about this story. When you're the most sanctioned country in the world, you have to get creative with how you make money. Sometimes that means infiltrating Western companies and infecting them with ransomware, or setting up a production company to animate your favorite TV shows. But for years now, crypto heists have been North Korea's speciality. Just last year, Kim's hacker henchmen were responsible for 61% of all funds stolen from crypto platforms worldwide. 61%! That's $1.3 billion in total. And fast forward to 2025, it's only February and they've already topped last year's numbers. In fact, this latest hack of $1.5 billion is roughly equal to 5% of North Korea's entire GDP. And where does all that money go? According to the UN, other than buying expensive clothes that just don't fit him, Kim spends much of this cash on his nuclear weapons program. So if you were holding any ether in Bybit, there's a decent chance your coins are now going to be spent on highly enriched uranium. Next up, the ransomware gang 8space has just been taken out by the feds. After their dark website was plastered with a seizure notice, there were rumours that these guys might have just faked their own death, pulling a Black Hat style exit scam, but law enforcement quickly confirms that this was in fact the real deal. 8base spawned in 2023, quickly becoming rather successful, occasionally making the top 5 on global ransomware leaderboards. These guys are an affiliate crew, meaning that they don't develop their own ransomware, but rather use the malware of a different gang, Phobos, to carry out their attacks. Each time a victim paid up, Phobos would get a small slice of the pie. That is, before Swiss and US authorities came together and said fuck it, is where 8space hackers are located. So they got Thai cyber police to bust down their door, seemingly arresting the alleged cyber criminals whilst they were in the middle of a movie night. Police also seized phones, laptops and a bunch of crypto, with the whole event being dubbed Operation Phobos Ator. The two suspects are accused of stealing $16 million from more than 1,000 victims worldwide, meaning that each victim only paid on average a $16,000 ransom, a relatively small amount in a world where we frequently see multi-million-dollar payouts. This is because, aside from just a couple of high-profile victims, 8base preferred to target small to medium-sized businesses. However, Europol said that thanks to the takedown, they were able to warn more than 400 companies that they were next on 8base's hit list. The two alleged cybercriminals, both of them Russian citizens, have just been charged by the US and are now facing extradition, where, if convicted, they could spend the next couple decades. Or, who knows, maybe they'll become part of the next prisoner swap between Russia and the US, but I guess that depends on whether they have any connections to the big guy. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.
Oof, big oof, mega oof, quadruple oof. In oofenbouw. Alright, see here.
Halo, what can be said about
Alright. See here.
DK Oldies, a name that strikes
Okay, it is lag. Video itself is lagging.
DK Oldies, a name that strikes
Okay.
deep fear in the
Yeah.
heart of YouTubers everywhere. It's time for round 3, my friends.
Let's
A couple of
fucking
years ago,
go.
We took a look at DK Oldies, who promised to be one of the premier destinations for getting your hands on some retro video games and video game consoles. However, what we found was something truly horrifying. However, it has been quite a while, so let's take a look at not only what we can buy from DK Oldies, but also to see what kind of values they give on the consoles that they sold me 30 seconds beforehand. Let's dive in, shall we? All products, new or used, purchased through DKOldies.com are covered by a 365-day free warranty for an easy exchange or store credit within 365 days. Or you can return your item for the full purchase price, not including shipping, within 30 days. Like, that is quite reasonable, quite reasonable, quite reasonable. I say this because I've never tested their warranty, but maybe we'll see how the items show up and if they actually work. $215 for a PS2 Slim? What? I know that like PS2s have gotten significantly more expensive, partially thanks to companies like DK Oldies for inflating the values, but $215? That seems excessive, right?
I think it's a bit excessive, even for.
No, that's bad. Okay, for a standard Xbox 360, a black model, so it should be somewhat more resistant to red rings, with a 120 gig hard drive, $115 and that is with no controller? It says controller optional none, but it also says it will come with one compatible wired controller. So what am I getting? I don't know, but I know I'm getting.
That sounds like Temu.
$55 for original.
That sounds like Temu.
What the is wrong with you? $330 for a regular fat 3DS? That might be the most egregious.
What the
It's
fuck?
literally- I have said many times that investments in 3DSs are probably better than gold, stocks, or bonds, because the 3DSs just keep going up. But I think this is a little excessive. All right, we're gonna have to evaluate how the trade-in process works. But for now, let me purchase our consoles under my secret alias of, wait, I can't use Pierre, can I? Did I know Pierre? Probably. I am Lier Puigi today. And
Lier
I'm going to
Puigi.
purchase all of my consoles, games,
That's
and
fucking
accessories,
funny.
And we're gonna get to the bottom of, is DK Oldies really a scam? All right, my friends, so we have our two separate orders from DK Oldies. Now, these are both purchased under different names, none of which were Austin Evans, and they're also shipped to different addresses. Mostly because I didn't want to make a super suspicious one single giant order to Lier Puigi on $1,300 worth of DK Oldies stuff. All right, let's see what's in box number one. Oh my God, I see it, I see it. One moment, please. Hey, team, you're gonna cut that together so it makes it look like I just changed my shirt, right? One moment, please. Whoa! That's crazy! Imagine that. I'm the world's biggest DK Oldies fan. Oh, that's the Wii U. All right. I will say, definitely some like minor scuffs and what. Oh, that's broken. I can stick my finger in the Wii U. Don't stick your finger in a Wii U, y'all. It's probably still functional. I mean, it is cosmetic, but it's not like a scratch. Like, I mean, this whole panel has been dented in. Man, that is not a good look for a Wii U, especially because we paid more for this, right? So we had the option of the black 32 gigabyte Wii U or the white 8 gigabyte. And this was like, what, 200 bucks?
Yes, we paid $200, which is $10 more than the black one.
I'm not seeing any other problems other than that initially. So I guess let's get this thing all plugged in and fired up and hope that it is actually fully functional. All right, let's see if our Wii U is Wii U-able. Oh, I hear disc signs of life. Hey! And it hasn't eaten itself alive with this broken fan vent. Let's play some Super Luigi U.
Eating itself alive.
Mario Brother.
What?
It's
talking
not
about
even
superior.
a contest. It's not even a contest.
Literally.
Luigi's
Just
so much better.
he's taller and that's it. The song is a banger though.
The song is actually a banger though.
Every
Like,
second block you ever see in a Mario game has to have a mushroom in it. No! No! Yeah, boy! Luigi Master right here! So I think it's safe to say that while our Wii U is functional, that this damage is not cool. I will say this is not a great first impression. Next up, we have our Nintendo 2DS. Now, I have a fond little spot in my heart for the 2DS because it's actually a comfortable little console to play. So, date 5/22.
I miss my
stand on
2DS.
PC, functionality confirmed. Condition G or A. I assume that's good or average. This was an average 2DS that I purchased.
We purchased it as acceptable.
Oh, sorry, acceptable average. Yeah. So, acceptable condition. So, the back looks, I mean, some minor scuffing, that's fine. We do have a stylus, which looks to be correct. First impressions, quite decent. I mean, I'm glad that they set this as acceptable because there are some minor scratches on the screen. Although, interestingly, it's on the top screen at the bottom because normally on DSs and 3DSs, the bottom screen is what really gets scratched up because, you know, little Timmy's there whacking away on his stylus. Probably use a better phrase, but I'm not going to.
Stylus.
There's a little scratch
Oh
on the
no.
corner, But generally speaking, it's quite nice.
Oh
How
no.
much did I pay for this acceptable model?
That's gotta be the best Nintendo DS joke. That's gotta be the best Nintendo DS adult joke yet. Little Timmy whacking on a stylus. Oh, yeah. That gave me a chuckle. That did give me a chuckle. Oh, come on. Please. Don't fucking tell me it's buffering.
We paid $110.
So that's not cheap. It's definitely appreciated in the last 10 years. But I will say that that actually is not terrible. I don't know what the eBay prices are right now, but you're paying some pretty decent money for pretty much anything that can play a 3DS game. Now, to make sure it works, we have also purchased a box copy of Majora's Mask 3D, which is complete in box with the manual. DK Oldies, I know, have just put more emphasis lately on buying games as well.
According to that, it costs $0 to run the Citrus emulator, as long as you have your own 3DS BIOS that you can dump and load onto it. Oh, come on, buffering.
We have purchased a game for every single one of the consoles that we have bought from DK Oldies. How much did I pay for Majora's Mask?
We paid $46.
Boy, is that the right price for a box copy of, it's still open, but of course, but a complete box copy of Majora's Mask?
No.
No?
No,
okay.
we overpaid for that one by a good amount. You can get like a new one, you know, quote unquote, like extremely good but not sealed copy of that for like $25, $30.
Oh, bad. Got it. Cool. All right. Well, I'll put that at this point aside, and let's play.
It's a good game.
It is a good game. Not as good as Ocarina of Time, but it's good. Well, until I do that, I will say that I have no real complaints about this 2DS. I actually, especially compared to the Wii U, it's clean, smells good. Make sure the cameras work really quick. Look at this beautiful image. It just really sums up my thoughts on the 2DS. You know what? We had a little bit of a shaky start, but we're back, baby. Alrighty, let's see what is next. I think this is our PS2, but we do have, I will say, a first-party DualShock 2. So this is an authentic-looking controller. How much extra did I pay for a first-party controller?
We paid an extra $30 for that PS2 controller.
And that was not like $30 to buy this. It was a $30 upcharge to go from the third-party controller to the first-party.
Correct.
All right. Well, I will say, without having
That's a bit much for that kind of upcharge.
Now, before I even open this one, I just want to be clear. Well padded, no shipping damage. If there's anything wrong with this one, we know. And that is a PS2 Slim. That's pretty good. Minus the missing rubber feet and some minor scratches on the bottom. This actually does look like it's in quite good condition. So we did also purchase a copy of Army Men Sarge's Heroes 2. My 20-year-old recollection is that I actually kind of enjoyed that game. Hey, PS2 is PS2ing. We get that PS2 energy, baby. Woo! All right, so
PS2 is PS2ing.
How do you do things? Oh, is it jump?
That's a line and a half.
To rotate immediately? What the? Okay. Whoa. Oh my God, it's inverted. Jesus Christ, it's inverted. What? Turn. Wait, no, he's doing it again. I'm not doing that. Wait, that's not like a thing that the game does, is it? All right, let me just try to swap out the controller and see if a controller we already have works better or if the game being weird. Center. It centers. Okay, it's the game. All right, how much do we pay for our PS2 plus the upcharge on this controller?
We paid $245.
Ouch. There's no way that
Yeesh.
that is a good price.
240.
For PS2, right? There's no way that anyone's actually.
That's
paying this for
no.
Slim, right?
There's no way
no
they
shot.
price it like that.
You can get like decent PS2 Slims for like, it's such a huge spread, but like some of them for under 100, some of them for like 120, 150, but definitely not even touching 200.
And those, I'm assuming, are also coming with first-party controllers, not third-party controllers.
First-party controllers, some of them are even coming with games. It's not even close.
How much did I pay for Army Men? I'm curious. This is a game that makes my brain hurt. And it's not as good as the RTS version.
We paid $34 for Army Men.
Really?
2, yes.
Why? I mean, I know I.
What do you mean? Why? You're the one that.
But no, but why is it?
What do you mean, why?
It didn't come in a box. It just came in like a little like sleeve.
the most I'm seeing is like $30 in like excellent